Jade Simmons, thank you so much for joining us on TPI.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first, your book, Purpose, the Remix. Let me tell you, this book blessed my life.
Yay.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we don't even have enough time to go through everything in this book. Now, people talk so much about purpose. I've been hearing about purpose since I was in my early 20s. Yeah. For people out there, tell me first what purpose is not.
Purpose is not your talent. It's not your gifting. It's not your skill. It's not your ability. It's not your job. It's not your job title. It's not even your role. You know, we think of mothers, we think, what? It's not my purpose to be a mother? No, it's not. That's a role. So purpose is not any of those things.
But for you, you know, being an acclaimed pianist and being so talented at it and having even a passion for it, most people would have thought, hey, this is your purpose. And you thought it, a lot of other people thought it. But your husband said something to you one night. What did he say that made you really rethink your purpose?
I almost left him when he said it. He said, sweetie, I don't think this piano thing is going to be it. And I'm like, hold on, excuse me. I think he saw the look in my eye because he backed it up really quickly and he said, what I really mean is that I don't think the piano is going to be it. I think the piano is going to like get you in to places.
So for you, the remix came when you started integrating stories into playing. So tell me how that came about.
I always say pay attention to breakdowns that don't make any sense. So I'm well into my career and I start having some memory slips. I start having inexplicable bouts of stage fright. I've been playing since I was a little girl. It didn't make any sense. So pay attention when things don't make any sense. In order to get through that bout of a really uncomfortable performance, I started talking to the audience in between the music. Long story short, that whole thing took on a life of its own. The audiences started talking more about what I was saying than what I was playing. The people who booked me was like, book that piano girl who talks, right? Because it was a different way of engaging the audience and other artists weren't doing it yet. So it was revolutionary when I started doing it. The speaking led to its own thing. I began being brought in by major corporations to speak, but a piano would come with me. So notice the piano's still there, but the piano became the vehicle for purpose. It wasn't the only container it would ever write itself out in. So my purpose is not to play the piano, but it's to activate audiences, individuals, into becoming bigger, bolder versions of themselves. I get to do that today on your show. I can do it when I write a book. I'm still activating people to be bigger and bolder. We hope the same happens for your viewers, but the vehicle changes.
So with that information, what is purpose?
Purpose is not the thing you do. It's the thing that happens in others when you do what you do. So we're not far off when we go to passion, but we stop at passion. Then we wonder why we burn out. It's because purpose is a renewable energy. Passion is an exhaustible fuel. I believe God gave us passion to actually power us in our purpose. So when you unlock purpose from having to be caught in being a TV host or an author or a preacher, and you say, it's actually what happens when I preach. It's what happens when I write. It's what happens when you host that's different from when someone else hosts. There's going to be an effect that you have on your guests that other hosts don't. It'll be different because it has your unique purpose-based imprint on it.
And you talk about purpose unshackling people and giving them freedom. How does a person discover their purpose so they can find freedom?
They don't discover it, they uncover it. Because remember, it's always been there. You think about one of my favorite scriptures, right? That, you know, God knew us before we were in the womb. Right? And so everything he put in us was put in us before we even got here. So one of the first questions we should be asking is, God, who was I before I got here? And he will tell you. He'll start to show you the things you're designed to do. And he'll begin to point out, I always say this exercise, look back over your life and examine the effect you've always had, right? If I were to interview your friends, there'd be a through theme. There'd be something they say they always get from you when they're around you. Purpose is usually hidden in that.
So for a person who uncovers their purpose, and one thing you talk about being in the book is sometimes you are in too small of a space. You find yourself in a small space, but you know I'm meant to flourish. However, look, I got kids, I got responsibilities. What steps can I take to get to grow in my purpose?
Well, the first thing is the first question you asked, what purpose is not? So I'm a mother. I have an incredible son and daughter, and a part of my purpose is to activate my children into being the biggest, boldest version of themselves possible. Me being their mother does not relieve me of the call on my life that might also be outside of my home. Therefore, I can release whoever's listening, release whatever guilt can be attached to sometimes feeling like I'm a mother, I'm obligated. Purpose is different than obligation. Purpose is actually the mandate that God has put on your existence for the time we have on this earth. So part of that freedom comes in understanding it doesn't make you a bad mom, a bad father, when you are starting to hear this other voice saying, there's something else, there's something more. It's just there's something other.
And finally, what would you just say to encourage someone who is on this journey of uncovering purpose, or and maybe being a little intimidated and afraid of moving forward?
Yeah, first of all, shameless pitch here, get the book, because it's going to walk you through it. I wrote this book because I used to just say the purpose statement. Your purpose is not the thing you do, it's the thing that happens in others when you do what you do, and people would get their minds blown, have their whole life, they would drop their jobs, join missions on that statement. And so I felt like in order to be a good steward of that statement, I had to write the book that really walks you through the uncovery process. You know, the encouragement is that I was just at a conference for women, and we were there to give ourselves permission to pursue the things that God has put on our hearts. And I think a lot of times women in particular don't even know they're subconsciously waiting for someone to let them do something or be able to. And so, you know, I would encourage us all to begin to give ourselves permission to first hear from God again, to dream with God again, and then to dare to do the wild thing He calls you to do.
Yes. Well, Jade Simmons, thank you so much.
Thank
you for writing this book.
I wish we had more time. There's so much to get to, but thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.